We came in at around 1 million. We're north of 10 today, and looking to go way beyond that. If that's your mindset, this is 100% for you. I'd also say if you're somebody who's looking for more time back to be able to, whether that's invest in other areas, more time with family, you're looking to get more balance in your life, this is also for you. I want to be working on the business every day. I don't necessarily need to be working in the business. I think you see those two groups really gravitate towards the elite methodology. All the folks that I've met are generally in one of those two camps. And it's funny how similar the work and the strategy is to be able to get to those two different results. I'm in my business every day, 40 hours a week at least, working on because I love it. Right. And I have friends through the elite program that they're in 15 hours and they're doing a bunch of other things, but they're implementing the same strategies and systems because it's once you get to a certain point, it's about culture, it's about leadership. Every challenge is a leadership challenge. And this is really what we're talking about here is how do we solve leadership challenges?
Welcome to the VIP Financial Education YouTube channel where we help you go further, faster financially. I'm your host, Michael Matthey. We had Brett Gilliland on here with Grow with Elite yesterday, and now we're doing a follow-up. We've got Bill Harney on the channel here today. Welcome, Bill.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It really is an honor, Michael. I appreciate you having me on. Anything I can do to help, let me know.
Yeah, and we kind of talked offline briefly, as you know, that we don't go into these scripted at all. Same thing we did with Brett. So you don't have any idea of the questions I'm going to ask. But we,
I'm in your hands, for better or worse. I'm in your hands.
But we are going to start with kind of your background. So, what kind of business model are you in? What's your professional? What's your personal background? We always like to share that, so makes it a little bit more intimate with our folks, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So the business that I have is a company called Keeping Current Matters. It's actually an organization my father started at the height of the recession in 2007, 2008. What we do is we serve the real estate agent community. So that's our customer base. Those are our members. We're a content product. We take the position of we want to do all the research. We want to do all the analysis of what's truly happening in the real estate market, synthesize that down into something that's bite-sized, understandable, both for the agent's benefit, but also ultimately to be able to help families, to be able to help normal people like you and I that aren't in the business every day truly understand what's happening. So we take on all that work, try to save time for the agents, make it simple, amplify their marketing so that they can spend their time doing the things that they need to do. So that's the business. That's the model. Background wise for me, I have a beautiful wife who I'm in this business with every single day, which is probably a story for another time, another podcast, but working with your spouse has definitely been a lot of fun. We have a 3-year-old son. Happy to announce we just kind of crossed that barrier. We have another one on the way. So we're kind of flying high right now, and marrying and managing the whole idea of running a business together while raising a family is definitely something that we are feeling every single day today.
We had a interview I just did yesterday with Brett Gilliland, and like I shared, I'm someone that has been through his program, ongoing in his program right now. And he said you would be willing to do a testimonial basically about your experiences with Keep, with Elite, what that's looked like for you. So if you don't mind, we kind of dive into that. What drew you to them initially and how did you find out about them?
Yeah. So for me, it's really a founding story for me. So I've been at KCM for 12 years. We're a 15-year-old company. I came in 12 years. I mentioned before, my father started this organization. I came in to be able to help sales and marketing, start to make it bigger. He wanted to expand, and I'm like, all right, I'm happy to help. That was my background. Fast forward, so I came in 2009. Fast forward to 2014, I'm sitting down with my father and sharing with him. I think that my vision for where we're able to go with this organization might be bigger than yours. And I had the audacity to tell him, and I think I want to run this. I'd like to be CEO. Will you give me a chance? Now, I'm fully expecting that at that point, he's going to tell me, that's nice, kid, but that's not how this actually works. You don't just get to be CEO. And let's go through a process.
How old were you at that point, if you don't mind me asking?
32. Okay. So not kid, but kid.
From a father hearing that from a 32-year-old son it probably set him back a little bit, correct?
Ego is never something that he or I have ever struggled with. So But I expected that to be, hey, 6 months process. We'll do this together. I'll learn the ropes. I expected that would be what it would like. That was a Friday that I told him that Monday he comes in, your CEO, go get it done. Don't let me down.
Wow.
I was not prepared. I did not prepare that well that weekend for that conversation. In a million years, I never saw that coming. I realized in that moment, I'm like, okay, I have to figure this out, right? Have a goal, now have to make a plan. And I understood sales and marketing pretty well. That was my background. I understood the product fulfillment side. I understood operations, like how we, how the sausage was made, how we created the content, how we did all the stuff. I understood. I had absolutely no knowledge of how to run a company. I had no knowledge of how to build a culture. I had no knowledge of how to do strategic. I didn't know any of the company type things. I just knew operations. So as I always do, when I don't know the answer to something, I'm going to go on a mission to figure out how do I learn this. And I was searching, and a friend of mine owned another company, and he had Brett Gilliland on a webinar talking about, here are the things that growing businesses struggle with, and here's how you solve them. And I was hooked at that point. I reached out to Brett and I signed up for Elite. It was probably 3 months later. I flew out to Phoenix. And this is while Elite Entrepreneurs, which is now its own standalone company, was still a part of the then Infusionsoft, now Keep, company space. So that was my origin story. So Brett really saved me and gave me the roadmap for how to be a leader and how to run a company, which I had no experience and honestly no place doing without that coaching.
I mean, that was a relatively young age. You said 32, correct? To be going in and starting to lead your company. That's amazing that your dad gave up the reins that easily. I've done business with my dad for almost 25 years at this point, and that's not something he easily relinquishes. So, you flew in. What was your experience like there firsthand? Where were you guys at from a revenue standpoint when you got involved? So they often talk, and Brett often talks about kind of that $1 million plus mark, sometimes a little bit below that if they have kind of greater aspirations. If you don't mind sharing, and I don't need, you don't need to share your financial statement.
It won't be to the penny, right? But we're an open book, when it comes to KCM. The more we share, the more we're able to help, and the more people can help us. So we share a lot. So at that point, we were probably, I'm going to guess, we tried just north of $1 million, somewhere between 1.2 and 1.4 from a revenue standpoint. We had, I'm going to say 9 employees. I think that's about right at that stage. So I flew in to Arizona. I brought she is our chief people officer today. She was in a very similar role, just as she's kind of gone on, but a very similar role. She was all about culture and how do we make sure that all the pieces are moving together. That's what she's always loved. Her name is Beth Frank. So Beth and I flew out to Elite, and we did the first, I think at that point it was a 3-day session where we were exposed to other entrepreneurs that are doing crazy things in their business and are all ultimately struggling with the same challenges. When Elite teaches it, when Brett's talking about it, it's like, hey, there are stages of small business growth. You have to figure out stage 1. You have to figure out how to sell. If you can't sell anything, you can't. You don't have a business. You have to figure out how to market. Then the next phase here is you have to figure out how to market so you can build the sales channel. Once you get past those 2 points, that usually when you're breaking up on that $1 million number, when companies are butting up against that one, it's they haven't been able to figure out, how do I bring the vision, your purpose, your values, and your mission? How do I bring that to more people so it's not just in the leader's head or in the leader and one partner's head? How is that shared amongst the organization? And that really gets to culture. And then the next phase here that we've been on this next run is all about leadership development. It's just like, how do we transcend leadership beyond just 1 or 2 or 3 people into an entire organization? So at that stage, we're at $1 million. And that was what we were struggling with. We all had ideas and none of it was together. We weren't unified in our plan, and other entrepreneurs were in the exact same spot. So it was a really great validating moment for us to try to understand, like, hey, we're not alone. We're not in an island. We're not weird that we haven't figured this out yet. So it was very uplifting. At the same time, we're exposed to world-class experts, both from Infusionsoft, Keep, as well as from the outside that are coming in that have loads of experience way past the size that we were at, to be able to help us walk through what we didn't know, how to get really clear on this. What's the roadmap in front of us, and where's the minefield that we can try to help navigate without it blowing up in our face every 5 steps.
Right. And I think one of the coolest things about that was those roundtable kind of break off sessions where you're sitting down with people that you've never met before in your life. Right. And they, on our interview with Brett, I was sitting down at a table with someone that owned a skate park, roller skating park. And then someone else had a water purifying business next to me. And then someone else owned a drilling company. So we were all facing the same challenges. At that point, we were $5 to $6 million business, and we wanted to obviously scale from there. But there were folks coming in there, $1 million businesses. There were $20 million businesses in there, and the challenges were all the same. It's kind of that cogs in the wheel, type of scenario. And how do you kind of get over yourself? Which, as an owner, sometimes I'm the stumbling block, right?
often at that stage, it's oftentimes.
Yeah, in many cases. So where are you at now? If you don't mind kind of giving me the State of the Union.
Yeah, so it's good timing right now. So our fiscal year ends at the end of August, and we right now have a bet in the office. We are either going to be just short or just over the 11 million mark. So huge, fantastic accomplishment
within 2 years.
No, I wouldn't say that. No, that was, so this was 2014 is when late 2014 is when we started with Elite. So we probably started implementing the work in early 2015 to get us right now. Here would be 6 years out.
So you went from 1.4 to over or around $11 million in that short amount of time, is what I'm hearing correctly?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I will say, and I don't say this lightly. It is because of the things that we did. It's because of the systems. It's because of the process. It's because of the strategies that we implemented that we learned through Elite. I can absolutely look back and line up one-to-one how all of this stuff works together.
Got it. I don't know if you can see behind me here, but I've got my Mount Everest picture. That is my Everest mission, which I'd learned obviously at the Elite training. So, we talk about that. We talk about missions. We talk about company culture. What's your company's mission at this point? Which obviously everything else comes from that, right?
Yeah. So our mission right now that we're on is a longer term. So as we've gone through this process a couple of different times, we've realized that, hey, we want to be able to look out longer term and then break that down into how do we ascend this mountain. And so we're looking at 2033. We want to be the leading educational content provider in the real estate space. And we also want to have a stronghold in 2 other industries. So we want to take the model that we're building right now with real estate as our subject matter expertise and be able to take that to provide confidence to normal consumers in other industries. There are a lot of places where there can be a lot of confusion on very, very important aspects. And we want to be able to help normal people, again, folks like you and I who are not in that business, whether that's real estate, whether that's insurance, whether that's mortgage, whether that's medical, whether it's financial, like all of these different areas where there are really important decisions that normal people have to make. It's hard sometimes to have all the information that they need. We want to solve that gap.
So it can definitely bleed into multiple industries. Obviously, that kind of cross-pollination effect is obviously extremely powerful. So you are not necessarily limiting yourself to real estate.
No, I think that, and this is part of that vision I shared earlier of just, I walked into Dad's. It's like, he knew real estate. He was 40-year veteran of real estate. I was never a real estate agent. I've bought and sold a handful of houses. I'm a real estate investor, so I get it. I grew up in that house, but seeing what we were doing gave me the opportunity. It was like, hey, there are more people we're able to help. Real estate really just was our first subject matter expert, being my dad at that point and our team of people around him today. That was just subject matter expertise. And we realized that what we've built here is independent of real estate, that, or at least this is our belief. We haven't tested this out yet. So the next 10 years is going to be a lot of fun on this ride, is figuring out, can we build expertise in these other areas and plug it into the same or a very similar model to be able to have the growth and be able to serve in the way that we want to.
Got it. And repeat the name of your business again, so our channel can definitely do their research on you. We're not out there necessarily promoting it, but you're a like-minded guy. We love entrepreneurs here on the channel. So if you don't mind sharing that information, would love to hear it.
Yeah, sure. The name of the company is Keeping Current Matters. Very simple. It's keepingcurrentmatters.com is where you find us.
Got it. Fantastic. So what was your first kind of impression with Brett? Obviously, you were introduced to him, and did you have trepidations going in? Obviously, there's a cost associated with that. So we're always clear with people on the channel. Obviously, coaching, those types of things. There are going to be an expense with that. There's going to be an expense with that, but you're investing back in your business. So what were your trepidations?
Yeah. So trepidations at that point, is this right? Right. Because anytime you're going to walk into something that you don't know, you have to ask that. At least I have to ask that question. Is this the right thing to be? Because dollars are limited. We don't have infinite funds to go do everything. Is this the right thing that's going to get us to the next level? So that was probably the first question of just, you don't know until you walk in. I had numbers of conversations with Brett talking through this, and he was just so willing to give of himself and of his knowledge. I'm like, I don't know if his program's right, but this guy's smart enough that if I enroll in this, I'll get at least my money back in just picking his brain for a couple of days. At the worst case, that's where I'm at. But it was definitely an investment. At this stage, my dad was still the owner, so any financial decisions above a couple $100 had to still get run by him, even though I was acting as CEO at that point. So. So there's definitely those conversations. And then as we got onto Elite, it was the question of, can we actually do this? Can we put it into place? Can we take what we've learned and actually implement it, and will it work? And I'm proud to be here 6 years later, talking about where we started to where we have gotten to this point. And honestly, who I and who my team has become as part of that, like that journey, business success, that's fantastic. My family is very well taken care of, from my parents to my wife. But from who we become as people is probably the thing that I'm most excited about.
Yeah, no, I love you sharing that with the audience here. If being an entrepreneur was easy, everyone would be doing it, right? So it's about, folks have different mindsets, whether they're that, W-2 or whether that, entrepreneur. Obviously, it just takes a different type of gumption, if you will, to go out there and implement those strategies.
What we do.
No, 100%. So guys, if you're watching, guys and gals, if you're watching right now, you're interested, go ahead and go to Grow with Elite at VIPfinancialeducation.com. That's Grow with Elite at VIPfinancialeducation.com. Brett and his team. Brett has actually, on the previous video, said that he's going to be responding to 100% of these personally, which is, you're getting the brains of the operation, folks. This guy's not only the co-founder and the CEO behind all of this, he is the brain trust. And we're talking to Living Proof. You're looking at Living Proof right now. So you've done 10x your business since you got involved with them. Who's this not a good fit for? And I asked Brett the same question, who would not want to get involved with this? Obviously, there's a financial, upfront payment on that, which is relatively small compared to the results that obviously you can achieve. You went from less than $2 million to, just shy of $11 million, in a handful of short years. So who shouldn't go down this path?
So I'll give you the answer to that question is somebody who wants to have full control over their business 100%. And they want to be the only person, and everybody else just listens to whatever he or she has to say. If that's your type, this is definitely not going to be the program for you. Anybody who is very satisfied and doesn't want to grow, very satisfied with where they're at, they don't want to work to figure out that next piece. And that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that individual if that is what they want. But I think if you're satisfied at the level that you're at right now and you're not looking to grow, this is definitely we want to do the work to be able to put in to figure out how do we grow, how do we take next, how do we do the hard work to invest in our growth into the future and be able to reap the rewards from that. So you have to go in knowing that there's a financial investment, as you've talked about. There's going to be work to do. This isn't a silver bullet. It's not a magic pill. Like there's work that you have to do, that you have to be committed to. So I think for any of those, and some of that work is letting go. If you're not ready to let go of decisions and responsibility and trust your team, then this is going to be a very different culture for you. If you're not looking to grow, those would be the two people that I would say it's not for those folks.
Yeah. And I want to
everybody else is in.
Well, I shared very openly with Brett, and when I got out there to Phoenix, so obviously they've been doing it remotely since the pandemic, of course. But
Yeah.
when we went out there, I went in as the skeptic. My partner Scott, with our real estate company, he's a big meeting guy. He loves, this type of thing. I'm the opposite. Like, I just want to put my head down. I want to work hard all day. I want to put my time in, and I work long hours. And not ashamed to say that, but I pick and choose the times I work, and I pick and choose what I work on. So for this, I was definitely outside of my spectrum. For me, and Brett caught it the first day. And we talked about it, and I said, I'm coming in here. We started talking about visions and started talking about, personal growth. And I kind of poo-pooed the whole idea, and then 2 hours later, I completely flipped a switch. I mean, the program was amazing, and Brett, obviously, as the leader of the organization, just blew me away. He's a very personal guy, shares personal stories about, his growth, his family, and all of those things really resonated with me. Who is this for? So we've discounted the people it's not for. Who would it be for?
Yeah.
Who takes a look at this opportunity and seizes the day, if you will?
Yeah, I think this is for anybody looking to grow, and I'll define that in at least two different ways. I think anybody that's looking to grow, of taking probably more of our track, right? Of just, we came in at around 1 million, we're north of 10 today, and looking to go way beyond that. If that's your mindset, this is 100% for you. I'd also say if you're somebody who's the founder or the CEO of the organization, and you're looking for more time back to be able to, whether that's invest in other areas, more time with family, you're looking to get more balance in your life, this is also for you. Like, I would say growth, it doesn't have to be purely financial. You don't have to do 10x growth to be in growth mode. Like, growth mode could be, I want to be able to I want to be working on the business every day. I don't necessarily need to be working in the business. I think that this is also, and I think you see those two groups really gravitate towards the elite methodology. All the folks that I've met are generally in one of those two camps. And it's funny how similar the work and the strategy is to be able to get to those two different results. I'm in my business every day, 40 hours a week at least, working on, because I love it, right? And I have friends through the elite program that they're in 15 hours and they're doing a bunch of other things, but they're implementing the same strategies and systems, because it's, once you get to a certain point, it's about culture, it's about leadership. Every challenge is a leadership challenge. And this is really what we're talking about here, is how do we solve leadership challenges?
Yeah, and one of the kind of neat exercises we did was kind of that organizational chart. So, you might have a business with 5, 10, 15, 20 employees, but there's kind of cross-pollination on, or overlap on, just daily jobs or job responsibilities. So that was kind of a neat thing that we did. Obviously, we went through SWATs, things of that nature. So they sound fairly elementary, but until you get in the weeds with that, as a business owner, and I've started multiple, I didn't know what I didn't know, so going through those exercises was actually extremely eye-opening for me. It sounds like it was for you as well. So let me ask you again, is Dad still involved?
Dad's still involved, not involved in the leadership side of it. Dad does the side that he really enjoys. Like, he's had that opportunity to do, this is the thing, this is the piece that I love to do and I'm going to do for the rest of my life. That's exactly where he's at right now. And I get to do the piece that I love of, how do I build a company? How do I set a vision? How do we achieve massive goals? And how do I develop people to be able to accomplish what those next goals are that we're going to have? So he's still involved, and he's very happy with the arrangement, all the way through.
I would assume so. Yeah, absolutely. So, Bill, I don't want to take up your time today. I'm sure you're a busy guy. In fact, I know that you are. I mean, if you're doing, close to just south of $11 million business, you've got a lot of things going on in your world. But guys, we're always going to come on the channel. We're going to do content. We're going to do research on your behalf. We bring in folks like Bill because they are living, walking testimonials on the folks that we have gone out, we've vetted, we have researched them. We're going to continue to do that. So if you have interest in the program, obviously just go to Grow with Elite at VIPfinancialeducation.com. If you are interested in Bill's business opportunity. He dropped that email earlier in the show. So we're always going to encourage people to do business with like-minded folks. So if you like the information that you've heard today, go ahead and smash that like button below. Until next time, thanks for joining us. Make it a great day.
All right. Appreciate it. Take care.
Everywhere along the way, as you triple in revenue from 100,000 to 300,000, from 300,000 to $1 million, from 1 to 3, 3 to 10, 10 to 30, and so on, every time you triple, the machine you've built is maxed out at what it can do. And until you shift gears, it's kind of like riding your bike. You're in a gear, you're pedaling, you've gained some momentum, and then you don't get much more output for more effort. You pedal harder and harder and harder, but you don't get more output until or unless you shift gears. And when you shift to the next gear, now that effort can really be put to work, and that bicycle moves further, faster, right? Our business is the same thing.